So I'd like to spend a few moments speaking about standards once again. I feel like I've given presentations about standards for the last 5 or 6 years in attending various events like this one here today. Today I'd like to talk about AES67 in particular and how it relates to Dante, and also what's been happening in the world of AVB, at least from the Audinate perspective. So I'll be touching on AES67, AVB and Dante support for AES67. So what we have here is a description of AES67 in like a single slide. And this is really trying to boil down into just one slide the key features of AES67, at least as I see it as a standard in the audio networking world. So firstly, what is AES67? It's really an interoperability specification. And what's meant by that is that it's a document that takes existing standards and brings them together and describes how those existing standards should be used in order to implement an audio networking transport. So those existing standards in AES67 come from the internet world as opposed to the IEEE. And one thing to note about AES67 is that really it's an audio transport only. So it's focused specifically on transporting audio signals across an IP network. So to flip that round the other way, one thing that AES67 is not that it is not a specification for a complete audio networking system. So for example, it doesn't talk about discovery. It does mention discovery, but it doesn't provide a standardized mechanism for discovery. And it doesn't provide standard protocols for routing control, for example, or for monitoring and management of the system. So why is it interesting? From my point of view, there's a couple of reasons why AES67 is an interesting networking standard. The main reason, or the primary benefit, I suppose, from an AES67 standard is that it is deployable. So like Dante, AES67 is a networking technology that can work with existing Ethernet switches. I think also as a standard, it's very pragmatic in terms of scope. So AES67 has focused on just the transport piece to enable signals to be exchanged from different vendors and different manufacturers. So it has a scope that is not too large to be implemented or to get agreement upon. And so I think from that point of view, it has a good chance of being a successful standard. So what about AVB? Certainly over the last 4 or 5 years, maybe longer, there's been a lot of talk about AVB. So what's the situation regarding AVB at the moment? From an Audinate point of view, our customers are telling us that interest in AVB is basically declining. And I guess that's for a variety of reasons. Certainly switch support remains an issue. It's taken a long time for AVB to kind of arrive as a technology. And I think now AVB is not the only standards development effort. So AES67 is now offering an alternative standard solution for providing interoperability between audio networking equipment. I think from a sort of customer point of view, most customers are interested in having a networking standard, and they're not that concerned about which particular standard it is. So I think AES67 is providing a measure of competition at the moment in the standards world for AVB. Switch support remains an issue. This has been an issue for a long time in the AVB world. Basically the issue is that AVB systems require specific features to be present in Ethernet switches, and today those features are not widely available. Okay, you can deploy systems if you deliver your own switches as part of those systems, but that basically limits the amount of deployment or the types of deployments you can use with AVB. In particular, it's very difficult to deploy AVB on a networking equipment that already exists in a building, for example. So AVB will continue on. AVNU activities continue. There's interest in automotive, in industrial control. Those sorts of developments continue on. I would expect that the AVB solutions in those spaces will potentially look quite different from the ones that we see today. And there's also quite a bit of interest in layer 3 with AVB now with this time-sensitive networking work. And this is intended to make AVB work with layer 3 and IP networks, which are the kind of networks that AES67 uses as well. So what about Dante and AES67? As we announced nearly 9 months ago now, Dante will soon offer AES67 support, and this will come as a new feature addition to Dante. So our initial release is targeted for Q1 of calendar year 2015. And the way that will work is that the existing transport protocol, the existing audio transport protocol that's used as part of the Dante solution today, and the AES67 transport protocol will both coexist in an updated piece of firmware. So there will be a single piece of firmware launched on the Brooklyn platform, which will be able to speak both the current audio transport protocol used in Dante, and will also support the AES67 transport protocol as well. So stream setup will be with Dante Controller, so you'll be able to create and configure AES67 streams with Dante Controller, and we will also have a simple service discovery scheme that will publish the availability or publish the information about AES67 streams being transmitted by Dante devices. And the goal behind that is to enable third-party companies to discover and use AES67 streams that are being transmitted by a Dante AES67 implementation. Okay, so that's all I have to talk about with respect to standards. So we discussed AES67 and its benefits in terms of being deployable and also being a very pragmatic solution that can be integrated into a system like Dante. And we also talked a bit about the issues with AVB and the competition that AES67 is presenting to AVB in the standards world today.